Minister, I want to raise the issue here this evening of the proposed changes in the work conditions and the responsibilities of pharmaceutical assistants. It's hard to understand why these changes are happening now. These are a small group of people, a small group of professional people who have conducted their job in a very professional manner over a long number of years. There's no public outcry or they've made no errors in their profession. And it seems to me, looking at it from the outside, that large chains are at work here, and that the pharmaceutical assistants are absolutely vital for the small sole trader out there, the pharmacy who are operating on his own. And they depend on this group of individuals. And they're a shrinking group of individuals. Their numbers, the youngest, are in their mid-50s. And to be bringing forward proposed changes at this stage to their responsibilities and their working conditions is baffling in the extreme. And there's a lot of questions to be answered how the Pharmaceutical Society of Ireland are bringing forward these proposed changes. Why is it being done? And a lot of questions need to be asked. And to me, these changes are completely unwarranted, completely unjustified, and have absolutely no justification.
Butler. Minister, the Pharmaceutical Society of Ireland recently approved rules that will restrict the work practices of pharmaceutical assistants. At the moment, under existing codes of practice, an assistant is entitled to cover short absences such as lunch hours, 2 half-days or 1 full day per week, and unscheduled short absences. In the case of a temporary absence resulting from a pharmacist's holiday entitlements, the assistant is entitled to cover 2 working weeks per annum, and we know this system has worked very, very well for the past 128 years. These practices have been in place for a long, long time, yet it has now been proposed that the temporary absence be limited to 1 hour per day. If the new rules are signed into law, pharmaceutical assistants will no longer be able to provide professional cover for pharmacists on their day off. Implementing these changes would effectively diminish their roles. Additionally, it could also jeopardise the provision of pharmacy services around the country, and especially in parts of rural Ireland.
Deputy?
No, that's it.
Deputy John, Minister?
Good, Cahill, and I would like to thank Deputy Butler and Deputy Cahill for raising the issue. The Pharmacy Act 2007 established the Pharmaceutical Society of Ireland, PSI, and the functions of the Society are set out in the Act and are carried out on its behalf by the Council of the Society. The Council is made up of 21 members, comprised of lay members and pharmacists. Section 30 of the Act provides for an exception to the general provisions in the Act, which requires the sale and supply of medicines at a pharmacy to be conducted under the personal supervision of a registered pharmacist, and specifies that no offence is committed where a registered pharmaceutical assistant acts on behalf of a registered pharmacist during the temporary absence of the registered pharmacist. Section 30 also permits the Council to make rules as to what may or may not be done by a registered pharmaceutical assistant when acting on behalf of a registered pharmacist, and what constitutes the temporary absence of a registered pharmacist. On June the 21st, the Council of the Society approved for issuance for public consultation the proposed Draft Pharmaceutical Society of Ireland Temporary Absence of Pharmacists from Pharmacy Rules 2018. This public consultation commenced on the 17th of July and ran until the 14th of August, and afforded any interested party the opportunity to make representations on the matter directly to the Pharmaceutical Society of Ireland. The Council of the PSI approved proposed Draft Pharmaceutical Society of Ireland Temporary Absence of Pharmacists from Pharmacy Rules 2018 at its meeting on the 20th of September 2018. Rules made by the PSI under the Pharmacy Act 2007 are subject to the consent of the Minister for Health. To date, the Minister has not received the draft rules from the PSI for his consideration. I understand that the draft rules, as approved by the Council, have defined the temporary absence of a registered pharmacist as any period not exceeding 1 hour per day, during which the registered pharmacist is not physically present at the premises where a retail pharmacy business is carried on. I also understand that the draft rules state that the Council shall approve a professional task list setting out what may and may not be done by a registered pharmaceutical assistant while acting on behalf of a registered pharmacist in the temporary absence of the registered pharmacist. This list has not yet been established. Thank you, Cahill.
Thank the Minister for his reply. And I talked to Minister Harris yesterday, and he told me he hadn't got the submission as yet. But I think you have lined out the difficulties there. And PSI, the Irish Pharmaceutical Union, made a submission to PSI. We in Fianna Fáil made a submission to them. Neither of us got any reply back from them. There's no explanation or no rationale behind why they want to downgrade the pharmaceutical assistance. I propose to you here, Minister, this evening that the PSI should be brought in before the Joint Oireachtas Health Committee and before the Public Accounts Committee to explain why they want to downgrade a professional service. A group of people who have done their job professionally over a long number of years. And as I said in my opening remarks, it's baffling to know why these changes are coming at these times. And as my colleague, Deputy Mayor Butler, has said, it will put the rural pharmacy and the sole trader under extreme pressure. So I would request that the PSI be brought in to those two Dáil committees and explain why they are adopting this approach.
Thank you. Minister, I would also like to reiterate what my colleague has said there now, Deputy Cahill. It's strange that the Minister has not received the draft rules, because there has been quite a lot of traction around this. And I would like to also see the Irish Pharmaceutical Association come before the Joint Health Committee and explain exactly where they're coming from with their idea. Because pharmacists and pharmacies are already struggling to get enough cover to keep the pharmacy open and provide the traditional service to its customers. Apparently, the youngest pharmaceutical assistant is 56. And to be honest, all of them will be actually phased out in 9 years' time when they all come to retirement age, or it could be 10 or 11 years if the retirement age has increased at that stage. And to be honest, I think 99% of the pharmaceutical assistants are women. They're female. So I think common sense needs to prevail here. They have all provided valued service to their communities. Their knowledge and their experience, gleaned by so many years, should not be thrown aside because of an overzealous desire to regulate. Gorf Mahagut.
Thank you.
Thank you to the deputies again, and to the point that they've well made. As I've said, under the Pharmacy Act 2007, the Minister for Health's role in relation to this process is limited to the consideration of any such rules once they are submitted for his consent. The Minister must consider any rules presented to him from a fair and impartial perspective without prejudice or prejudgment. Although the draft rules, as approved by the Council, are publicly available, under the Act, the Minister must await the receipt of the rules for his consideration from the PSI, and until that time, I am unfortunately not in a position to discuss any further until the Minister has that, but the concerns of the deputies are noted. I suppose, as the Chair would be familiar, I or the Senior Minister wouldn't have any role in the affairs of that would be a matter for the Chair and the members of the committee themselves, and the members opposite would be quite free to make that request to the Chair and the members of the Joint Oireachtas Health Committee, but it wouldn't be in the gift of the Minister or myself to decide who would be coming for any of the Oireachtas committees.
Thank you, Minister. Next is Deputy Brian Stanley to discuss funding for the SOSAD support charity service in Tullamore, County Offaly. Deputy.